Hey mamas, it's Kristen Noel, founder of the Intuitive Divorce, popping in here with my beautiful team member, master coach Joe Young. We are just like hot off of a class, and we're calling these after class musings because the stuff that gets unpacked each week in our group coaching program is just so powerful. And it's just something we want to share here with you because I feel, well, we feel and know that so many of the same experiences and feelings and emotions are unfolding for all of you who are navigating these murky waters of divorce. Today, we decided to dive into grief. And that's a really, really big topic because grief comes in many, many forms. And it can be surprising because for most of us, we think of grief as like just being in a puddle of tears and, hiding in a corner under blankets. But it comes out in other ways as well. And so we unpacked that, and we'd really like to share what came up in class today to sort of help with this notion of duality in our feelings and our experiences. And I'll get more into that with Joe in just a minute. But just to say, as I mentioned, grief comes in different packaging. And for some people, it can be hidden beneath rage. It can be, under anger. It can be under these explosive encounters, or it can come through depression or sadness or tears, or it can come through illness. Your back going out, the body keeps a score. So there are lots of ways that it comes out, and it will come out in divorce because your marriage mattered.
Yeah, it's a letting go process.
Hmm.
And in every letting go process, there's going to be grief. It's natural, it is a part of it. And what does that look like? It depends, right? I mean, yeah, I love what you said around it comes out in many different places. It comes out looking very differently. It comes out sometimes when we least expect it, but it is a part of the letting go process. And it's not just letting go of the marriage. It's letting go of the expectations. It's letting go of what we thought our
Mm.
marriage was going to look like. I love that you said that today in the teaching. It comes out when we realize that we are no longer who we thought we would be at this stage or game of life. And there's a grief about all of that,
I'm so
and
glad
some,
you brought that in. Yeah, I forgot that. Thank you for bringing that in because, yeah, there is this grief. There's this grief of letting go of the marriage, which is obvious, right? But there's this grief of, this isn't what I expected when I was wearing that dress going down the aisle. There's a letting go of this dream of what my family was going to look like, or what my life was going to look like, or what I was going to look like, or who I was going to become. And then there are so many dreams that were attached to that.
Mhm.
It's sort of this reconciling and reckoning of all of that. And you are always so good about reminding us about the both and, right? So when we talk about the duality of experiencing grief, I'd love for you to talk about that more.
Yeah. So grief doesn't come with just the sadness of something. There is sadness around letting go of something, and there's many other things. There's sadness and there's a realization which creates opportunity and hope. There's sadness, but there's also, celebrations along the way. And so it really becomes, how do I hold grief and the other things that are going on with life at the same time?
Mhm.
How do I hold the space for the both and we're so programmed to think we need to be one or the other.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the truth is, we're many things all the time. We're always in the both and.
We'll often hear women say, why did I wait so long? Or I wish I had done this sooner. And okay, that's true. That's a truth, right? And so there's a
Mhm.
grief to that. There's a
Mhm.
sadness that's associated. But then what do we do with that? Because we can't change the past. What do we do with that information? And I'm not saying tie it up in a nice and, neat, tidy, sparkly bow, because it is what it is. But to Joe's point about the celebration, wow, I'm sad that I didn't do this sooner. But man, I'm celebrating the courage I have now. Just sit in that for a second.
Mm.
It's not changing the experience, but it's like, okay, yes, acknowledgement, that happened. This is real. This is how I feel. And I'm really courageous that I can see this now. And you know what? I'm not going to stay in this forever. And I'm not going to play small forever. I'm doing something about it. And that takes courage. And
It
that,
certainly does.
yeah, and that is to be celebrated because a lot of
Yes.
people don't have that courage. And staying in a situation where you are suffocating, where you are not being seen, you are not heard, you are not being validated, you are shrinking. Nothing good is going to come from that. And by the way, you might be thinking like, "Oh, I don't want to deal with that. Like, shove those feelings aside." Those feelings aren't going anywhere. Matter of fact, those feelings are growing and they are planting, voracious roots that are holding on and they're going to find a way out. And we talk about this a lot in the program about when feelings come out sideways because they're coming
Yeah.
out.
That's right. And so holding the space for going back to your example of, I'm really sad that I didn't see this before. And yeah, there's a forgiveness process that needs to happen, right? And a forgiveness process with ourselves. And that means feeling the sadness, feeling the disappointment, allowing that to be there and don't bypass it because it's a part of you. I am disappointed. And then I get to turn it around to this beautiful word that we used over and over and over today, which is grace. We get to give ourselves grace. So many of us are familiar with the song Amazing Grace. And one of the most beautiful lines in there is, I was blind, but now I see.
Mhm.
And the whole point of that is that we go through phases in our life where we are blind to certain things and then we see. And so have grace for yourself, with yourself, to yourself, for not seeing before you're ready to see. And there's no timeline on that, right? Some people see
Mhm.
really quickly, others, it might take decades. And we have it all in our group. We have it all. And it doesn't matter. What matters is that you see it now.
Mhm.
And
And
so
your
when you
time is your
see it, right, then you get to do something about it.
right.
You get to make different choices.
Mhm. The mamas that are in the intuitive divorce are the most big-hearted, delicious, intuitive, gorgeous mamas walking the face of the earth. So, of course, those mamas try to fix, control, make everything better for everyone else. And in this deep, deep sadness and despair and this grief, very often I will hear some version of, I just don't want to hurt him, or I just don't want to ruin his life. As if, two truths can't go to coexist, or as if you can fix that, change that, control that. So, for example, we had a mama today that had a pretty dramatic situation going on this week. And she actually said those words to me, I just don't want to ruin his life. And I was like, I get that. You're not ruining his life. He's ruining his life by his choices and his actions. He has agency over himself. So, in that reference to duality, I'm really sad that I have to take this action that feels like I'm ruining his life or I'm hurting him. However, I need to protect myself and my girls. I need to protect us. I need to move forward with this. My life matters. Our
Yeah.
life matters. Our well-being matters. So there is duality. Feelings are not cut and dry. It's not black and white. But when we get stuck or derailed in the, I just don't want to hurt him, or I don't want to upset him, or I don't want to ruin his life, or whatever it is, what about yours? What about yours? That's
Yeah.
what we really have to keep coming back to. What about yours? It's
Hmm.
not, women are so prone to laying their lives down on the altar of motherhood and marriage and
Yeah.
self-sacrifice. But that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. When one person has to shrink to fit in or belong or feel like they're earning love, that's not the way love works. And
Hmm.
so we all come into our marriages with all these beliefs about what it means. And the bottom line is you deserve to have respect and honor. You deserve to be heard and seen. You deserve to be treated well. And it's not about
I've got
what
one
we
you're going to love.
oh, go ahead.
And you are safe to feel your feelings. You deserve to
Mm,
feel your feelings. That's a big one for Joe. Joe's like
it
always
sure
reminding
is.
us to get in our feelings and let those feelings be felt until they are done being felt.
That's right. That's right. Because our body's going to keep those feelings. Our body stores all of that, whether we decide to express it or not. And again, that's when it comes out sideways. So,
Hmm.
yes, we deserve to feel our feelings. And I am always reminded that, or maybe surprised a little bit is a better word, when I hear women say, I can't show up in my marriage and feel how I really feel because he doesn't like that, or it makes him uncomfortable, or whatever the case may be. And
Hmm.
again, to your point, we're so used to taking the hit so that everybody else stays comfortable. But what
Perceived, and
about
it's
us?
perceived comfort, right?
It
It's
is,
really,
of course, because you're not comfortable,
hmm,
right?
hmm,
When you're doing that. And
hmm.
honestly, we can't create comfort for someone else. We just think we can. So there's
Just
a
be a
lot
good
of both
girl.
ands. Oh,
Just be
yeah.
a good girl. Just be nice. Just fall in line. Just do what everybody needs you to do. What everybody needs you to do is really show up as your authentic self.
Mhm.
Because when you show up as your authentic self, then you can teach and model for other people, i.e., your children or the people around you or the people that you're in relationship with, how to be their authentic selves and to be safe to do the same. And you know what? If I can't show up as my authentic self, I don't really want to show up here.
Yeah. Because what kind of relationship is that to begin with? That's where we kind of left things off today, honestly, was getting honest
Mhm.
about seeing things for what they are. And in the middle of grief, sometimes that can be really difficult because we just want the hurt and the pain and all of that to go away. But the only way it goes away is to allow a space for it,
Mhm.
you know, to allow it to be expressed. And that takes courage. It takes a lot of courage to see and acknowledge things for what they are. And man, our mamas are doing that in this group.
To that point, Joe, one of the things that we witnessed today that was so beautiful is that we were pointing out that, listen, this is the human experience. It doesn't mean you're not going to bump up against disappointment or pain. It means that you're much quicker in in recognizing what's going on. You respond much more quickly with like, okay, I need a timeout. I need to think about this. I need to pause. I need to figure out what's going on, and then regroup, then take an action step. So mamas are they might get derailed. I guess what I'm trying to say a long-winded way is they will get triggered. They'll have a conversation. They'll get into some negotiation. They'll get quickly triggered and then catch themselves and realize, oh, I see what's going on here. I see what feeling is popping up. And when this feeling pops up, it means X, Y, and Z to me. And they can quickly reroute, they can regroup.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in a nutshell, that's growth, right? That's
Hmm.
what it is to grow as a human being. It's not
Hmm.
about not making mistakes. It's not about not being triggered. It's not about not feeling anything. In fact, it's quite the opposite. But growth means how quickly can I bring myself back to center?
Mm.
And that is what matters. And that is not something that happens overnight. That is something that is, progressive, something that happens over time. We do it quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. And that's what I love as we practice all these beautiful tools that we give our mamas here is we're really watching it in action. You know, even with this mom who had this traumatic event this week, she really quickly was able to bring herself to center enough to take care of what she needed to take care of.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that she doesn't have all these other feelings going on around her, right? But in those moments, in the days following, she has been able to get her feet on the ground and to take the actions and the steps that she needed to take care of herself. And that is growth.
I'm actually really glad you brought that in because I think this is a really great way to wrap up this conversation because this mama also, as we said, was going through so much. It sort of felt like fight or flight this week. And, I'd been in communication with her a lot and I had texted her and asked, "Are you going to be in class?" And I was really hoping that she was going to say yes, but obviously understanding that she might not. And she just responded 2 seconds later and she's like, "Absolutely. I need my tribe," with a heart. And it really, I know, honestly, it made me cry because that is the power. And she even said today in class, when I can, really just commended her for showing up and being there for herself. She said, "It's just medicine for me. This is the place where I really can actually come in and I know people understand what I'm saying. I know these other mamas in the group and the coaches in the group know, they can relate. I'm safe to be seen and heard and acknowledged." And she's like, "I needed it, and that is a sacred container." And let me just tell you something. Everybody in that room had their own stuff going on. But I want to tell you something. When we have got like a mama that's in need, there's just like a circle that just like gathers around her like a pack, and it is medicine. And it makes me, walk out of that session and that class and just really give thanks for what we do and the ability we have to witness that transformation in women because we also know it transcends just what's going on within them. It's changing everything for their children and for their future. And it's just so damn beautiful to watch.
Yes, it is. We are so lucky that we
Mhm.
get to show up and do this. And this is what we want for all of you out there listening. I
Mhm.
mean, to surround yourself in a beautiful community where you feel seen, valued, heard, honored, respected, all the things that encompass love, really, in the name of it being
Yeah.
Valentine's week, right? It's
Yeah.
like all the things that encompass love. But what it
Mhm.
boils down to is, do you love yourself
Mhm.
enough to have the courage to see things as they are?
Mm.
It's such an incredible gift to give yourself. So that's what I leave you with this
Mm.
week is love yourself enough to see things for what they are. Have the
Mhm.
courage to do that. Love yourself that much.
And also know that you can do that right now, today,
Mm.
wherever you are in your life, wherever you are in your divorce process, wherever you are in your head. Know that you can do that today. And that shifts everything. And that's what's so beautiful about this. That's what divorcing differently is. And that's what an intuitive divorce is. So we're going to leave that there. Please feel your feelings. That is not a tagline in a Hallmark greeting card. It's so, so important to acknowledge what's coming up, but also not get stuck there. If you're feeling a feeling that you don't want to be feeling, don't deny yourself that experience, but ask yourself, okay, what is the duality of that feeling? What is the and? I'm feeling sad and dot dot dot. Remind yourself that you get to write another story and that there's more to that story. So, with that, we're going to leave you. And thank you for sharing this time here with us. If you want to learn more about our work, just head over to our website at intuitivedivorce.com. Please join our newsletter, listen to our podcast. We are constantly sharing tons of just wonderful information, resources, tips, tools, and lots and lots and lots of love, lots of fierce mama bear love to help you navigate this all differently.